When my stepbrother Eric was handed the family restaurant, years of favoritism exploded into a dramatic family showdown. So here's the background. At 29, grew up working in my mom and stepdad's restaurant since I was literally 14. Every weekend, after school, summer breaks, you name it, I was there bussing tables, learning the ropes, cooking, managing deliveries. It wasn't glamorous, but I was proud of it. That restaurant was like my second home. Then comes Eric, 27, my stepbrother. He moved in when he was 12 after my mom married his dad, Michael. He was always a bit of the golden boy. I don't mean that in a petty way, it was just obvious. He got away with skipping shifts, screwing around, and honestly, he never took the place seriously. While I was sweating in the kitchen, Eric was out with friends who were handling marketing, which usually meant posting a random photo on Instagram once a month. Fast forward to this year. Michael called a family meeting at the restaurant after hours. My mom, me, Eric, and even my younger sister Sarah, 21, were there. I thought it was about renovation, so maybe new menu changes. Nope. Michael stands up in front of us and says, "It's time I start stepping back. I've decided to hand over full control of the restaurant to Eric." I swear my jaw literally dropped. I looked at my mom, then at Sarah, and both of them had the same stunned face I did. Meanwhile, Eric looked like he was trying not to grin, but he was glowing like he just won the lottery. I couldn't hold back. "Wait, what?" to Eric. "Are you serious?" I blurted. Michael nodded, dead serious. He's got the charisma, the vision, and he understands the younger crowd we're trying to appeal to. I laughed bitterly. Vision, the guy barely shows up on time. Half the staff doesn't even respect him because he treats the place like a social club. Eric jumped in, defensive as always. "At least I'm not stuck in the back frying onion rings like some loser. I'm thinking about the future, not just flipping burgers." That stung, because I knew I'd given blood, sweat, and years to this business. I slammed my hand on the table. "Future? You wouldn't know the future if it slapped you in the face. You've been handed everything your whole life, Eric. Meanwhile, I've been here making sure this place doesn't fall apart." Sarah actually spoke up too, which she rarely does. "Dad, this isn't fair. You know Eric doesn't take it seriously. Why wouldn't you even consider my brother?" But Michael just shook his head. "I've made my decision. This restaurant needs someone like Eric at the front, not someone who hides in the kitchen." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about business. It was about favoritism, plain and simple. Michael had always favored Eric, but now he was literally giving away the one thing I'd worked my whole life for. I left that meeting fuming, barely able to breathe. My mom chased me out into the parking lot, but I couldn't even look at her. All I could think was I just lost everything to favoritism. A week after that family meeting, Michael decided to make it official. He threw this big dinner at the restaurant, inviting not just close family, but staff, long-time customers, and even a couple of local business owners. Basically, it was a coronation party for Eric. I didn't even want to go. But my mom begged me, saying, "Please, for the sake of family, just come, at least hear him out." Against my better judgment, I showed up. The restaurant looked like it was set up for a wedding reception, balloons, flowers, even a slideshow of Eric's journey in the business, most of which were just photos of him posing with customers or standing at the bar with a drink. I wanted to puke. Eric got up to give a speech. He was wearing this brand new tailored suit, acting like some big shot CEO. "I just want to thank my dad for trusting me with this legacy," he said, smiling smugly. "I know I have big shoes to fill, but I promise I'll bring this restaurant into the future." The crowd clapped politely. Michael looked proud. My mom looked tense, and Sarah looked like she wanted to throw her drink at him. I sat there, grinding my teeth, until Eric made the mistake of saying, "And of course, my stepbrother here has been a huge help in the kitchen over the years, but times are changing, and it's time to move past the old ways." That was it. I stood up. "Old ways? Are you kidding me? The old ways are what kept this place alive while you were off playing Mr. Influencer." Everyone went dead silent. Michael immediately tried to cut in. "Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." "No," I snapped back. "You're embarrassing this whole family. You're giving control of everything we've worked for to someone who hasn't earned it. This restaurant was built on hard work, not Instagram likes." Eric smirked and leaned against the mic stand like he was some comedian. "You sound jealous, man. Maybe if you had some vision instead of just greasy hands, Dad would have picked you." The words hit like a punch. My fist actually clenched under the table. My mom grabbed my arm to keep me from lunging at him. That's when Sarah lost it. She stood up and shouted, "You don't get it, Eric. My brother sacrificed his whole life for this place while you were off partying. Without him, this restaurant wouldn't even exist right now." The room erupted. Half the staff nodded in agreement. Some customers awkwardly looked away, and Michael's face turned red. He tried to calm things down, but the damage was done. Eric snapped back at Sarah. "Stay out of it. You don't know business." Sarah fired right back. "Neither do you." The dinner spiraled into chaos. Michael ended it by storming out, Eric chasing after him. The rest of us sat there in awkward silence. I realized then that this wasn't just favoritism anymore, it was war. Fallout from that disastrous dinner was immediate. The next morning, I showed up for my usual shift in the kitchen. A couple of the cooks guys I'd known since high school pulled me aside. "Man, that was brutal last night," one of them whispered. "But honestly, you weren't wrong. Half of us only stay here because of you. If Eric takes over, I don't know how long we'll last." That hit me hard. These weren't just coworkers, they were basically family. I'd seen them pull double shifts, cover for each other, and work through holidays. The idea of them leaving because of Eric's ego made me sick. By lunch, the whole restaurant fell off. Customers who'd been at the dinner were whispering. A couple even asked me quietly, "So are you still running things, or is Eric in charge now?" I didn't even know what to say. Then Eric strutted in like he owned the place technically. Now he did. He wasn't in uniform, just jeans, a flash shirt, and his stupid aviator sunglasses. He made a big show of walking around to tables, shaking hands, acting like a celebrity. I stayed in the kitchen, hoping to avoid him, but of course he barged in. "Hey, little bro," he said, way too smug. "You cool if I make some changes, thinking of cutting down the menu, modernizing it? People don't want heavy diner food anymore." I nearly dropped the spatula. "Are you kidding me? Those recipes are what build this place. People come here for the burgers, the ribs, the old school vibe." Eric waved me off. "No, trust me. We'll get a younger crowd if we do small plates and cocktails. It's all about the aesthetic now. One of the line cooks mother, so we're just gonna throw out 30 years of tradition for Instagram likes." Eric snapped, "If you don't get it, maybe you shouldn't be working here." The kitchen went dead silent. I could feel the tension snapping like a wire about to break. I stepped between him and the crew. "Don't you dare talk to them like that. These people are the backbone of this place. Without them, you wouldn't last a week." Eric smirked, but his voice was sharp. "Maybe I don't need you, either. Don't think I won't replace you if you keep making a scene." That was it, I lost it. "Replace me? Eric, I've been here since I was a kid. I know every corner of this kitchen, every supplier, every customer's order by heart. You can't just walk in here with Daddy's blessing and erase me. Eric leaned closer, his voice low but venomous. Watch me. I swear, for a second, I thought I was going to punch him right there in front of the staff. My mom rushed in, having overheard us. She practically begged, please stop, this is tearing the family apart. But the truth was, the family was already split. Staff were choosing sides. Customers were whispering. And deep down, I knew this fight was only just beginning. Friday night at the restaurant is usually chaos, but the good kind, the kind where the kitchen hums like a machine and the dining room buzzes with regulars and families. That night, though, it felt like a powder keg waiting for a spark. I was on grill, sweating bullets with orders flying in, when Eric waltzed in wearing some ridiculous blazer like he was running a nightclub. He hadn't even checked the schedule, he just showed up and started barking orders at the servers. Table 7 gets priority, those are some local influences, make sure the food looks perfect and send out a couple cocktails on the house, he shouted loud enough for the entire floor to hear. One of the waitresses, Maria, leaned into the kitchen window and hissed, Eric just told me to comp half the drinks for his buddies, we're going to bleed money if he keeps this up. I gritted my teeth. Just keep doing your job, I'll handle him. But Eric wasn't done. He barged into the kitchen, snapping his fingers like he was in charge. Yo, bro, can you plate those burgers nicer? Add some microgreens or something, they need to look photogenic. I spun around, spatula in hand. This isn't a down art gallery, Eric. People come here because the food tastes good, not because it looks pretty on Instagram. He smirked. That's your problem. You think like a cook, I think like a businessman. Before I could reply, a server rushed in, panicked. Guys, we've got a problem. Table 4 says their ribs are cold. I knew exactly what happened. Eric had stole the food to get pictures with his influencer friends, and by the time it got out, it was ruined. I stormed past him to the dining room. A couple at table 4 were regulars, older folks who'd been coming since before I could drive. I apologized, comped their meal, and promised to remake it myself. They softened, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes. When I came back to the kitchen, Eric was leaning against the counter, arms crossed, smirking. See, that's why you'll never run this place. You get too emotional over one bad order. That was it. I slammed the taunts down so hard the room went silent. One bad order, Eric. This whole night is a disaster because of you. You're more worried about selfies than actual customers. You don't care about this place, you just care about the image. Eric stepped forward, nose to nose with me. Maybe that's why Dad chose me, because I actually have vision, and you're just stuck in the past. The entire kitchen froze. The servers were staring from the door, cooks holding their breath. Even Sarah, who had come in to help with the rush, was pale with fury. And then she snapped. You're destroying everything Dad and Mom built. You think you're the star of some reality show. But you're a joke. The customers don't respect you. The staff doesn't respect you. And honestly, neither do I. The place erupted. Staff started muttering. Servers threw each other looks, and Eric's face went bright red. He stormed out, slamming the swinging door so hard the whole wall shook. That night, as we finished service without him, I realized something. The restaurant had already chosen sides. And Eric wasn't on the winning team. The next morning, tension was still thick in the air. Eric hadn't come in early to review operations, which he claimed was part of his genius plan. Instead, he strolled in around noon, looking like he owned the place, which technically he did now. Morning, he said, voice dripping with smugness. I've been thinking, maybe it's time we make some changes, starting with you. I froze. Excuse me? You heard me, he continued. I can't have someone with your attitude undermining me, so you're fired. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because of the threat itself, truthfully, I didn't care if Eric had a piece of paper giving him control, but because he was doing it in front of the entire staff. Every cook, server, and busboy froze. Even Sarah, who had been quietly helping with prep, put down the knife she was using. I laughed bitterly, but it came out sharp. Fired? Really, Eric? Do you know what you're saying? I've been here longer than you've been relied in this business. I know the menu, the suppliers, the customers, the schedules. Firing me isn't just unfair, it's insane. Eric smirked. Call it what you want. Dad gave me this place. I make the decisions now. If you can't follow orders, you're gone. Sarah, finally losing her patience, stepped between us. Eric, stop. Do you think this is about following orders? This is about loyalty, about respect, about understanding what it took to get this restaurant where it is. You have none of that. Eric's jaw tightened. You're both overreacting. I'm doing what's best for the future. I slammed my hand on the counter, and the entire kitchen jumped. The future is nothing if you drive away everyone who actually cares about this place. You're a joke, Eric. You're a walking disaster in a suit. The tension snapped. One of the cooks, Marco, shouted. He's right, we're not staying if he runs this place like a circus. The staff started nodding, murmuring agreement. Servers whispered about quitting, line cooks glanced nervously at the door, and Eric's smirk faltered. Suddenly, the weight of the room turned against him. Eric's face turned bright red, and he tried to buck another order, but no one listened. My mom, who had been in the back watching silently, finally stepped forward. Enough, she shouted. Eric, I made a mistake. You are talented, but this isn't just about charisma, it's about heart. And right now, your heart is not in this restaurant the way it needs to be. Eric froze. His mouth opened, then closed. He finally stormed out, slamming the door behind him, leaving a stunned silence in the kitchen. I looked around at the staff, Marco, Maria, the servers, and shook my head. I am not going anywhere. This is our home, our family business, and if anyone wants to destroy it for ego or Instagram likes, they're not welcome here. Sarah hugged me, whispering. Finally, someone stood up. It wasn't a perfect victory. Eric was still out there, probably plotting some revenge. But for the first time, it felt like our family and the restaurant was taking its first real step back from the brink. 2 weeks after Eric stormed out, things had mostly settled back to normal. The staff was calmer, the customers were happy, and the kitchen was humming the way it always had. I even started experimenting with a few menu tweaks, small, thoughtful changes that kept the heart of the restaurant intact. Then came Eric's final act. He posted on social media that he was hosting an exclusive influencer night at the restaurant, promising free cocktails, flash decor, and VIP seating. The post went viral in our small town, and soon a line of people, most of them looking for Instagram content rather than a meal, was forming outside. I arrived early that evening, determined not to let the place turn into a circus again. The staff looked nervous, but we were ready. I pulled aside Sarah and whispered, "Stay close, this is going to be messy." Eric showed up an hour later, dressed like he was walking onto a movie set, carrying a camera crew. "Surprise," he announced, grinning. "We're turning this place into the hottest spot in town tonight." I stepped forward. Eric, this isn't your private party. These are real customers, and they come for food, not photo ops. He waved me off. Relax, I've got this under control. The night started off chaotic. Eric was directing waitstaff, moving tables around, and making everyone pose for photos. Orders were getting mixed up, drinks spilled, and the staff was running around trying to keep up. Then disaster struck. One of Eric's influencer friends knocked over a tray of cocktails. Drinks spilled onto a couple's anniversary cake, and the couple started yelling. Customers began grumbling, and a few laughed outright. The kitchen was in full panic mode. I grabbed Eric by the shoulder. Stop, just stop. This isn't how you run a restaurant. He tried to brush me off, but the staff finally emboldened and started murmuring. Marco stepped forward. We've had enough. You're ruining everything. If you want to play Instagram star, do it somewhere else. Eric's face went pale. He realized the room had turned against him. For the first time, he looked small, like a kid caught doing something he wasn't ready for. My mom came in, placing a hand on my shoulder. Eric, I think it's time you step back. This isn't your stage, this is a family restaurant, and it needs people who care about it, not just themselves. Eric didn't argue. He just slumped, muttering something about needing space, and walked out the back door. The staff let out a collective sigh of relief. Customers started clapping, and the atmosphere slowly returned to normal. I turned to Sarah. We did it. It's finally back to us. She smiled, exhausted but relieved. You saved it, Eric or no Eric. That night, as we closed the restaurant and wiped down the counters, I realized something important. The business isn't just about profits or popularity, it's about family, heart, and the people who actually care. And for once, it felt like the family was finally on the same page. The following week, Eric didn't show up at all. No calls, no texts, nothing. Tension in the family eased slightly, but there was still an unspoken awkwardness whenever his name came out. One evening, my mom asked me to sit down with her in the restaurant office. I need to apologize, she said, voice trembling. I didn't see how badly I favored him. I thought I was being fair, but I wasn't. You've worked your entire life for this place, and I didn't give you the credit you deserved. I swallowed hard. Thanks, I just wish it hadn't gotten so messy. Sarah chimed in, leaning against the doorway. Yeah, we all saw how crazy it got, but at least now, it's clear who really keeps this place running, and it's not Eric. A week later, Eric finally came by. He looked smaller, calmer, and honestly a little humbled. He avoided eye contact at first, then muttered, Look, I overstepped. I thought I was ready to run things, but I wasn't. You're the one who's been holding this together. I'm sorry. I blinked. Part of me wanted to lash out, to bring up all the chaos, the dinners, the influencer disaster. But instead, I just nodded. Thanks, just learn from it, and don't make the same mistakes again. Eric actually smiled, a little sheepishly. I will. Maybe one day I can earn a bigger role, but I see now that it's not just about being handed control, it's about doing the work, the hard work. The next few weeks were quieter. Eric stayed mostly in the background, helping in small ways when asked, but never trying to take over. The staff seemed relieved, and customers even commented on how the old magic was back. My mom and I sat down one evening after closing, sipping the leftover wine from a staff celebration. I've learned a lot watching you handle this, she said softly. You're not just running the kitchen, you're keeping the family together. I smiled, tired but proud. It was messy, but I guess it was worth it. The restaurant isn't just a business, it's family, and I want to protect that. Sarah came in with a grin. Well, I'd say the family's finally back in sync, and the restaurant smells amazing. We all laughed. For the first time in months, the tension had lifted. Eric might still be a work in progress, and favoritism had caused a lot of pain, but we had survived it. More importantly, we had learned that respect and effort matter more than titles, suits, or Instagram followers. That night, as I locked up the restaurant, I looked around at the kitchen, the tables, the memories etched into every corner. It wasn't just a building, it was a legacy. And despite the drama, I knew we were finally ready to protect it